It's noon here in Ventnor, New Jersey, Bethesda, Maryland, 8 a.m. in Anchorage, 6 a.m. in Honolulu, and midnight in Manila. And this is news that you can use from CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach. And before we get started today, two things. One, Aaron, I would love to review that deal sheet, but my email wasn't working the other day, so please resend it to ray@joinyaa.com because my other email address doesn't seem to be working. And to those of you who got annoyed with my son yesterday, please, if I don't get annoyed with him, there's no reason you should get annoyed with him. We're family. We love each other. And there are days that we will just disagree with each other. And that doesn't mean anything. So please, if I'm not taking it personally, you should neither.
I didn't read the comments on yesterday's show, and you know what? I'm not going to because it sounds like I got some well-deserved heat. Here's the deal, Dad. We have a message here from the Lake Woman. Hi, car edgers. I just want to be very clear. I'm going to drop the car from that. We are just edgers, man. You know, just when you show up. And we are going to go to the Edmunds data. So we're going to start today's show off with the used vehicle report. That Q1 2023, we have the latest data from Edmunds. Now we're going to review this information. We also have the latest wholesale market update from Cox Automotive, and we had yesterday's Black Book update. Today is all going to be about used car market and the fact that the used car shortage is significantly worse than some of us may have realized.
You like my subhead under my name today?
There's an ongoing steak dinner in the wings for if used car prices do not fall off of, what did I say, Dad? A cliff.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, because the market was going to adjust and things are crashing. It's just not used car prices, but that is okay. Let's go into some of that data from our dear friends who we know none of them over at Edmunds, but let's pretend they're our dear friends.
All right, let's take a peek, Dad. First things first, we'll start at the overview. Used car prices, listen to this, Dad. Used car prices are softening, but remain historically high. Let's quantify this. The average used vehicle transaction price in Q1 2023 is down 6.4% year over year, but is up 44% from 5 years ago. What does that actually mean?
That means that it means even though prices have come down a wee bit, they are still way overpriced. And as we get deeper into the data, we will see why those prices will probably continue to remain at historically high levels.
We've got a great comment from the Lake Woman. Think we need a t-shirt. I'm an edger. Are you? I think we could be on to something here. I'll bring that back to the team. Great job keeping a straight face there, Pops. All right, let's jump over to the right-hand side
Is it good to be an edger? Is it good?
No.
Is that a good thing?
Nope. Stop. All right, I'm sorry for even going there. The supply of used vehicles is being squeezed across the board. Let's jump over to that side, Dad, because you alluded to it. The supposition, the hypothesis that you have is that we will not see a 44% decline back to where vehicle prices were 5 years ago because lease volume has dropped significantly. There are way fewer lease vehicles being returned and way fewer leased vehicles that are going to be returned over the coming years. Trade-in volume has gone down significantly, 700,000 units from 2022 to 2018. And off-rental vehicles, the rental fleets are just getting older and older. So those are not all of the, but like the three big sources for used cars, and there's just fewer of them.
Yes, and there will continue to remain fewer of them. Leasing in particular, at one point in time, and when I say at one point in time, 3.5, 4 years ago, leasing probably made up about 35% of all vehicles sold. Okay, 35% of those sales were actually leases. That number has dropped to about 16 to 18% because the manufacturers just have not supported in any great degree or incentivized in any great degree the leasing of their vehicles anymore, which means that there have been fewer cars that have been leased over the past 3 years, and that would translate into fewer of those coming back. And with used car prices remaining historically high, that the residual values on those leases would probably still be somewhere between 15 and 25% below what their market value is. So if you're in one of those leases where you can actually buy it out at the end, and many of the manufacturers are stopping that, but if you're in one of those, rather than turn it back in, you would be foolish not to buy it. You know the complete history of the vehicle, and you know you were buying it for somewhere between 15 and 25% below its retail value. So
even if you're just going to buy it to sell it, it literally makes no sense to do what we've traditionally done, which is return the lease, get into a new one. Yeah.
Yes. So that impacts used cars moving forward and used car availability. Then you have we lost globally somewhere between 15 and 18 million new vehicles that had been scheduled to have been produced over the last 2.5 years that were not produced globally, which means as you sell new cars, typically in many cases there is a trade-in associated with that transaction. Well, if you have 15 to 18 million new cars that didn't get built, that means there were 15 to 18 million new car transactions that didn't take place, which means that there were trade-ins that never happened. So that there's fewer trade-ins available, and that trend will continue for a while because we are still operating at about, half of what typical inventory volumes for new cars had been. Okay, so you're down leased vehicles, you're down trade-ins, and rental car companies are holding onto their fleets for a longer period of time than they ever have and putting higher mileage on those cars than they ever have. So if they're not coming back into the market, where the hell are we getting used cars from? We're not.
So where you're starting to, and what you're starting to see, Dad, I mean, I shouldn't say starting to see, what Edmunds is helping us quantify is the pressure that is putting on the lower price point part of the market. The video we had that went out today over at on the CarEdge channel, it's an awesome video and it ties with a guide we have back on CarEdge.com. I'll put the link down in the description. Is it better to buy new or used in 2023? Here's what the data says, right? We did this video, Dad, put the link in the description, and we make a case. It's against conventional wisdom, but we make a case that buying a new car right now is a better value than a used car. But look at this Edmunds data. If you're in this sub $20,000 price point, buying a new car is not an option. Okay, look at this. Let's start here. In Q1, less than 1% of vehicles sold on the new car side were under $20,000. You literally can't buy a sub $20,000 new car. Now, let's think about the used car market. The share of used vehicles sold under $20,000 was 30.6% in Q1 2023. That compares to 60.5% 5 years ago. So the real place in the market that we're feeling immense pressure are the folks that just simply can't afford transportation, are looking for something under $20,000. And interestingly, this has created a paradigm where if you've driven an older vehicle, something that was like 8 years old pre-pandemic and is now 10, 11 years old, it hasn't depreciated. This is why we keep talking. The reason I bring up CarEdge.com/sell on every freaking show is because I just want to make sure that if someone's selling a car, they don't get gypped on it. They got to get the right amount.
Yes.
Because things have not depreciated in specific areas. Again, down to 6%, but that's less pronounced for the sub 20,000 because there just aren't any. There are no options.
And there will continue to be no options. Under an under $20,000 price point is a very, very tough price point. And they're operating, I mean, at 30% sold in comparison to 60% in the past. So you can just see that the availability keeps shrinking in the sub $20,000 price point. And the new car manufacturers have abandoned that price point for all intents and purposes. So it is just getting harder and harder for people to be able to find those cars. And then, our dear friend Brandon at Cars Question Answered, where he specializes in under $10,000 cars, that makes those cars even rarer than they had been before and pricier than they had been before. The stuff that's selling for $7,000-8,000 today might have been a $5,000 car 3 years ago. So it's just the whole situation keeps being exacerbated by this prolonged shortage of vehicles, both new and used, but really on the pre-owned side of things, where the used car availability is just so far below where it needs to be.
Yeah, it really is. But I will say that the Edmunds data helps to quantify. It helps us to understand what's actually going on out there, because what I'm about to pull up on the screen from Cox Automotive, wholesale used car prices. The title of today's video could have been wholesale used car prices crashed. They're down 7% year over year. I mean, so we are seeing downward pressure. It's when you start to look at the full picture here. And Edmunds did a great job helping us see that full picture. When you look at the full picture here, it's very obvious that until there's a surplus of used cars back in the market, we talked about it in the video that was on the CarEdge channel, we talked about it yesterday on the show, there's 400,000 fewer used cars in dealer inventory right now than there was at this time last year. And yes, we do talk ad nauseum about repossession rates going up and likely more vehicles, like those vehicles coming to the market. Not enough to really change the tide. The thing that can solve this and drive prices down would be if the consumer demand side fell off. And we are seeing consumer demand fall off. There's fewer buyers in the market, that's for sure.
But the buyers that are in the market are still buying, and they're still buying at unreasonably inflated prices. And that's what the dilemma is. If the fewer buyers that were in the market said, okay, we know there's less of us trying to buy these cars, we're going to pay less than what you're asking for them, then maybe at that point we would actually see pre-owned prices decline at a much faster rate than what we're seeing at the present time. But when you consider that they're 44% higher than their comparable vehicles would have been 5 years ago, that's not a normal thing. Although that might be the new normal thing. And I did, what was it, a month or so ago, where I did that solo video where I came to the conclusion that I didn't really think prices were going to significantly go down because of this prolonged pre-owned vehicle shortage due to the fact that there were 15 to 18 million new cars globally that were scheduled to be built that weren't built. And that because of that, this would go on for years and years and years. And I hate to say this, but I think to a certain degree, we're seeing that play out. Not what I wanted to see happen, but what I expected to see happen, simply because of supply constraints. And as long as there's supply constraints, we're going to continue to see much higher prices than what we would normally expect them to be.
All right, Dad, I want to take a moment. I want to turn our attention to tax refunds, because that also plays a role in this and some of the headwinds we went through spring selling season. Before that, I said something that was inappropriate before, so I apologize for that. When I was referring to prices, I said something that was a slur, so I apologize for that. For those of you that missed it, that's fine. For those of you who I offended, I apologize. Let's continue on here, though, Pops. Let me pull this up on the screen. Tax refunds in 2023 down compared to last year in all key metrics. So we've got tax season wasn't as strong. You called that from the get-go. You absolutely called that from the get-go. And then look at what the headline is in automotive news this morning. Used car demand stays strong in spring, but headwinds remain everyone knows that the slowdown is here. And tax season is why we saw used car prices months ago going up like they did. And that is also why we are seeing used car prices come down now, because the tax season wasn't as strong, and we're past tax season at this point for the most part.
Yes. But even when you dig into that automotive news article, I even though sales are good, and they always in the headwinds, the headwinds haven't been strong enough to really change the market to any great degree. We can look at what the Fed's been doing, and we can measure how much interest rates have gone up, and we can measure how much floor plan costs have gone up for dealers when it comes to financing their new and used car inventories. We can see all that. And we know that there are fewer buyers in the market. But that even with all that, the demand still is relatively high. And that's because there's just not that many higher quality 1, 2, and 3-year-old pre-owned cars. And because of that, those prices remain high. And in many cases, those vehicles are selling more than what they had the MSRP had been when they were brand new cars. So it's like I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I just don't really see it getting better. Now, I know there are others in this industry who think it will get better. I hope I'm wrong and they're right. But I'll do my best not to gloat if it turns out that I'm right and they're wrong. But it's going to be difficult. It's going to remain difficult if you are a consumer looking for a car, new or used, for the foreseeable future.
That's what the Edmunds data highlights, that it does. Let's go jump to the chat, Pops. We had a thoughtful contribution from our friend Alex, Alaska Sound Guy.
Thank you,
there
Alex.
You go.
Yeah.
And let's keep going here through the chat that we got from the Dubster. Hey, all. Just bought a 2016 Ram 1500 with 50,000 miles. Got a lot of knowledge from you guys. Thanks. Love to hear it.
Yeah, yes.
We've got from James. Hi, guys. Looking at getting a Chrysler because I have an employee discount. Is it reasonable to expect the dealership to also add their own discount? They keep saying they can't do both. May I pull up on the screen, Dad? Well, let's first get your answer to that. Go ahead.
They can do both. They're choosing not to do both. And they're really, when you consider Chrysler's inventory levels, they're really not in a position to not do both. In the old days, 3.5 years ago, in the old days, not only would you get a incentive from the manufacturer as the customer, whether it be a sizable rebate or a cheap interest rate, but you would also get a sizable discount from the dealer. It was not uncommon for dealers to sell their new vehicles at or below invoice pricing, okay? And then still give the customers their incentives from the manufacturer on top of that. So, yes, that Chrysler dealer can do both. He just might be choosing not to at the moment. But as his inventory continues to grow and he starts to choke on it, he will probably find it easier to do both in the future.
Yeah, those dealers that are sitting on inventory are incentivized to move it. So this ties in to that guide that I mentioned earlier. Thank you, Justin and Hannah, for compiling all the data. If you scroll down on this page, let's go.
Where is this page?
All right, let's go. We're on the home page.
Okay.
We're on home.
Yeah.
So you can get this information by going to resources, free guides. Is it better to buy new or used in 2023? Here's what the data says. And then I'm going to jump to new car inventory by brand. I'm going to scroll down. Obviously, maybe it's not obvious. All this data is on the CarEdge car search, but let's just do it here, Dad. We're looking at day supply for specific brands in California, Texas, and Florida.
Wow.
Right now, it's sorted by least to highest. You can see Toyota, Kia. This is our data, folks. This is not Cox. This is not Manheim or anything. This is our data. I'm going to flip this. Let's look in California. Where are you at, Buick? Boom, Buick. 100 days supply in California. Texas, 106. Florida, 84. The reason I'm bringing this up, guys, is because, like you said, the dealer can do both. They can do the manufacturer program, and they can offer their own discount. And if you were to, let's now go to the car search. So we're saying Buick, and I don't know where that person lives, but let's look for a Buick. What do you think, Dad? Buick Encore?
Sure.
I'll do an Enclave. Let's do a new one. Here we go. We're in Austin, Texas. Drum roll, please. 167 days supply of inventory. Now, this one's only been sitting for 55 days, but still, Buick dealers are incentivized to move metal.
Yeah, because that dealer knows that if things go according to what's been happening, he's only going to be staring at that vehicle for another, 102 days, 112 days, whatever it is. That's a long time to have to stare at that, and it ain't getting any better looking the longer he stares at it. Just not. Okay. So yes, you can use the day supply as leverage to get a better deal. And if that particular Buick dealer doesn't want to work with you, trust me, there's another Buick dealer that will. Yeah, absolutely right. All right, Dad, one other comment here in the chat we've got from Sergeant Samosa. Hi, guys, love the content. What are your thoughts on prior service loaners being sold as certified pre-owned vehicles, CPO? I'm in the market for a Mazda CX-5 Signature. Certified pre-owns are around $35,000 in my area, and new is $40,000. What are you doing in this situation, Pops? Are you taking the $5,000 savings for the certified pre-owned that has 3,000 to 8,000 miles on it, or are you doing the new one? I would probably do the certified pre-owned if it gives you the extended warranty as part of it. And what I mean by the extended warranties is many of the certified pre-owned programs will give you extra time for your new car bumper-to-bumper warranty. There was a time, you might not remember this, but back when we were in Arizona, and I actually had a brand new MDX on order. Yeah,
back your MDX.
Red pearl with a beige interior. I wanted that and I had it on order. But we had a white one with the parchment interior that was a retired service loaner with like 2,900 miles on it. And it was certified, which meant that I got warranty coverage. Instead of it being $550, I think it became $672, and it only had 2,900 miles on it.
Yep.
And I could buy it for $5,000 less than the brand new one that would have had 0 miles on it. Well, for $5,000 savings, we ended up in the white one because we had better warranty coverage, and we saved $5,000 for a vehicle having 3,000 miles on it. So if you can save $3,000 to $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 by getting a certified pre-owned vehicle, I would do the certified pre-owned vehicle that has very low mileage on it, because the amount of warranty coverage you're going to end up with is greater than the warranty coverage you would have had on the brand new vehicle with 0 miles, and you're saving yourself $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Rob from the UK is here with us. Say hi to Rob, Pops.
Hello.
No, come on, man.
Hey, Rob, welcome, and thank you for joining us from the UK. What time is it there so that I can start doing those time zones as well?
Dad, let's answer Jeff's question here, and then let's turn our attention to our favorite segment. Jeff says, to get the best deal on a new vehicle, is it better to buy a brand new vehicle in December, one that has been sitting for almost a year? Example, buy a new 2023 vehicle this December.
Well, it's always, historically, it always has been best to buy in December, the last week of the year, because that is historically when the largest customer incentives are being offered by the manufacturers. And that is when dealerships are motivated the most to hit their yearly sales goals that have been established for them by the manufacturer. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll be able to find a 2023 that's been sitting for a year, but it does mean that they would be highly motivated to get rid of anything they have, especially the last week of the year. Now, I know when I worked at the Penske organization, come December 31st, I wasn't allowed to have any of the current model year vehicles. So if we were going into 2024, that meant all my 2023s had to have been sold by December 31st. I was not expected to carry any of those over into 2024. Okay. Which meant I started looking at it in November, making plans on how to get rid of my remaining inventory so that I wouldn't have to worry about it past the middle of December. I would be uber aggressive in getting rid of those vehicles because, well, the Penske organization just didn't want you to carry any of those over at that time. I would think there's many organizations that operate similarly. And so that, we have proven historically the best deals to be had are typically the last week of the year.
Thank you for that, Dad.
Now
we've got from Amy a contribution. Thank you, Amy. My union at work is having a car buying workshop. We want to hear, Amy.
Yes.
Because we didn't get invited. So it's not us leading the workshop. We want to hear how it goes. Yeah,
we want to hear how it goes. And maybe in the future, they could bring us in to help with a car buying workshop because, well, we truly level the playing field. Just a suggestion. Or perhaps part of your union benefits is they could give you part of your benefits would be a membership to CarEdge or the CarEdge coaches when it comes time to get your new car. Just
I like
a
the way you
thought.
think, Dad.
Yeah.
Ad lib time, please.
Really? You must be kidding me.
All right, so we've spent today. This comes from the Twitter account Car Dealership Guy. If you're not following CDG over on Twitter, he is a worthy follow. We've been talking about used cars all day, and we've seen, right?
Yes.
We've seen some slight declines in used car prices. We've got, Dad, a 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee with 241,000 miles on it for $18,565. Now, that is not the really, you got to be kidding me. So you're probably thinking to yourself, what? What is the really, you got to be kidding me? The fact that Carfax says it's a good value.
Well, you know what the really, you got to be kidding me is? That I believe from the day that was sold to the day that those pictures were taken, that's probably the first time that vehicle's ever been in park. To get 241,000 miles on it, and yeah, that would be a good deal if it had, I don't know, maybe 150,000 less miles on it. But
those good deal, bad deal things, folks, man, they are just, I don't put a lot of stock in them.
There should be a thing that says, don't do it. Just don't do it. Because at $19,000, you're pretty much assured you're going to be dumping another $19,000 into that as you inch ever closer to 250,000 miles on that, because all the stuff that's going to break, it ain't going to be cheap. And good. That's a good buy. Yeah, that would be a good buy. BY. Like, I got to leave now.
Yeah, BYE. All right, guys, CarEdge.com. Everything we can do to help you out, it is right back there. Some really exciting stuff coming out today. We got more stuff coming out tomorrow. So please, if you don't have a CarEdge account, get a CarEdge account. Up at the top there, you can see buy, sell, finance, insurance, and warranty, plus all of the free resources. So please, if you have not spent some time at CarEdge.com, go make yourself aware of all of that info. And here we got from Mark Zach, run the VIN for values on that. How about this? Tune in tomorrow and we will run a CarEdge report. So we'll see if our report gets broken by that Jeep. We'll see if we say it's a good deal or a bad deal. You'll have to tune in tomorrow for that.
Tomorrow, assuming that I know Aaron said he resent that email, we'll have an opportunity to review his email and show the reconditioning costs for that used vehicle on tomorrow's show. Yeah,
I'd love that.
So I'm pretty sure that means we'll be back here tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 8 a.m. Anchorage time, 6 a.m. Honolulu, and for all our fans in Manila, that would be midnight in Manila. That's got a great ring to it. It's really midnight in Manila. And I really can't wait to spend some quality time with, I think it was Sam Hernandez. It's going to Manila and he wants us to join him. Wasn't that one of the comments?
Yes, that was in the chat. Yes.
So you can all look forward to seeing Zach, Ray, and Sam, whoever he may be, in Manila for a meetup.
This is the longest outro ever. CarEdge Electric. Go check out the Unplugged show. Pops, have a great Wednesday. Everyone enjoy your Wednesday too. And we'll see you back tomorrow.
Okie doke. I'll be here. I promise.